One issue now that state lawmakers can all agree on. We desperately need to rebuild some of the state's roads and bridges.
However, the idea of putting in electronic highway tolls to help pay for it is running into a legislative traffic jam. Chief Political Correspondent Mark Davis joining us to explain why so much debate. Mark?
Hi, Scott and Ann. Good evening, everyone from the Hartford Newsroom. Governor Malloy says that state lawmakers must pass the so-called lockbox amendment to make sure that all the money that's raised for transportation goes to transportation. But getting from here to there is proving to be a very tough journey. Members of the legislature's Transportation Committee have about 100 proposed laws before them, from increasing fines for texting while driving and online license renewals to imposing those controversial electronic tolls on the interstate highways. Because the tolling is so controversial and there are so many plans, the committee has decided to have one big hearing next month just on the tolling question. Shoreline State Senator Ted Kennedy Jr. says the time is right to talk about tolls.
We have millions of cars whizzing through Connecticut on a daily basis who don't pay anything in terms of our upkeep of our roads.
One suggestion would place about 20 of these electronic tolling gantries on Interstate 95 between New Haven and the New York border, so it would be almost impossible to drive around the tolls. And Kennedy has authored a plan to impose what's called congestion pricing.
During peak travel times, the toll would be higher.
Conceived as a way to decrease congestion on the interstates during peak travel times, opponents see it as just an increased expense on the little guy.
Guess who has to pay that? Not the CEO that can come and go when they want in a business around the congestion pricing time, but the person that has to show up at 8 or 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Another idea would be to put so-called border tolls where the interstates start at the New York, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts border, a non-starter for lawmakers from the border areas.
No one wants to do this or from a border town perspective of which I sit. So if it's just a border town issue, then obviously I wouldn't support that.
In another idea, the gas tax would be gradually reduced as the electronic tolls were imposed.
Do we believe that in this state? How much credibility does the public have that we're going to phase away a tax?
So all of the toll talk would all be pushed to a big hearing sometime next month. Senator Boucher is right, by the way, on whether or not the public at large believes in so-called temporary taxes or rolling them back. The state income tax, the inheritance tax, the real estate conveyance tax, the 20% surcharge on the business tax were all sold to people as being temporary. And they're not. Live from the Hartford, so far, live from the Hartford Newsroom, Mark Davis, News 8.